everybody, it's Jen from Scrapping Posh, and today we're doing something just a little bit different. I am making a miniature in a Matchbox inspired by Chantel from Darkest Raven Designs here on YouTube. I will link her channel in the description box below. So she has this website that makes these boxes, and all of the specifications are on her video descriptions. Again, I will link that below. So head on over there. The cool thing about this website is that it transferred right out into a Cameo silhouette file. And because I can't cut a straight line, I am depending on my Cameo. So I'm cheating just a little bit because Chantel does everything by hand. But today we're going to model in our Cameo studio. If you didn't see before, I have in the past drawn the entire number 4 privet drive. I then imported it into my Cameo software, and I am making modifications as needed. And yeah, we'll just let you watch a little bit of this magic. I also got references, of course, from the movies. I unfortunately have never had a chance to visit the studios in London, so I had to deal with what I had. Here you see me resizing this door, and later on you will see that I completely made it too small. You can't see anything inside, so I will be doing this again later. Here I will carefully remove all the pieces from my tattered Cameo silhouette mat, and at this point I realized that I didn't fix the tolerance on the Matchbox, so it doesn't fit quite right, but we adjust it with some extra folds and it turns out okay at the end. I used this blue Distress Oxide ink as a watercolor base for the background, and then I start layering on the paper piece stairs and the stairs themselves. This is a long, tedious process, but probably better than trying to figure out where the folds would be if I did it the other way. Here I make a bed out of coffee stirrers, and then I remove it later so that I can paint the background, but it's basically the same thing. This piece of foam is being filleted into a tiny little electrical box or meter to go in the back of Harry's closet. Here I remove the bed so that I can paint the back wall and the side wall. Later I find out that I should not have painted that side wall at all. It is actually white. So I put the bed back in place and on to the next step. These wood shelves in the back are also made from coffee stirrers glued in place. And then I paint the bed and the shelves with brown watered down acrylic paint. And for Harry's blanket, I use a tissue paper technique to make the bedding drape over the bed a little bit more naturally. I use water, tissue paper, and glue. I take a pin and cut off the very top of it, and this is going to get glued on to that little electrical box in the back, and then I run thread from that pin down to the bed. And here I'm just adding more steps that I hadn't added before so that I could get to the bed and all the shelves and stuff. And this is when I cut all the details out of the stair railing. And after I glue everything on, I'm going to leave some details in here. One, I realized that the stairs are too tall, so I cut off the top. And number two, once I put the door on, you will see in slow motion that it is much too small to see the details of the cupboard under the stairs. Here I am painting with acrylic red and white paint on the bed that is dried tissue paper. And the glue and water that I added to the tissue paper made it stiffen so it will hold its folds. And then I mixed some inks together to do another watercolor on the floor, but eventually I will cover this in white and redo it with paint, because this does not adhere to the glued areas. And this is when I realized the doorway is too small.
It's not very good, is it?
So I take a break for a minute and I just start filling the shelves with some knickknacks and repainting the wall and the floor in white so that I can add the detail. Now on this back wall I do a tone-on-tone kind of Y pattern to give it a feathered look. This is a little piece of twine that I wrap up, and it's one of the knickknacks that are going to go on the shelves behind Harry's bed. I use a faux flower stamen from ASC Supplies to make a little light bulb. Alright, back to the drawing board. This is where I am fixing the stairs. First I am taking off the top layer, and then I am making the door opening and door bigger so that I may be able to see the detail in the cupboard. And here is a different view of putting all of the details together after cutting the new door out. Off camera, I made some small picture frames and I started putting people in them, and then I made these plates for beside the door, but the wall doesn't end up being big enough to add those in. I also glue the top of a small piece of cardstock on there so that it makes a little handrail. And all the cardstock I'm using is 110 pounds. Here is the front door and a door frame that I don't end up using because it is too big, and the window next to the front door, which I actually end up cutting in half for the same reason. If I ever do another Matchbox again, I'll be sure to make sure that all the details fit in the area that is provided. And then after these paintings are dry, I go in and add the details. Making the big blobs of skin-colored paint into people. Now here I put on the new staircase, and it is much better. I can see all the details inside.
That's better, isn't it? That's better, isn't it?
Indeed it is. And now I am going to permanently glue that in place. And this is when I realized I should have put the pictures on first. I also removed that door from the side, and I'll re-glue it here later. It was just interfering a little bit with the stairs. That's the door to inside of the kitchen. And I take my pokey thing and put the pictures behind the steps. Here I frame everything that has a seam with a small piece of cardstock, which is both the left and right side, and then in front of the stairs on the back. After I glue the door and the window on the side, I glue a small mailbox, which is cardstock painted gold, and a small piece of that golden pin for the doorknob. The door is a bit too big to fit inside the Matchbox when it's closed, so I trim off a piece of the smaller edge and glue the door to the frame. Now for the outside of the Matchbox, I simply mix paint and do a fairly poor paint job on the outside. Unfortunately, it's not my strong suit. If I were to do it again, I think I would probably cut out all the windows and the door, but so after I get it all painted, I take the top of the Matchbox and slit it open and add a magnet so that it'll open and close. This project was so much fun. I wanted to thank the Darkest Raven Designs for coming up with this idea. Show her some love and tell her that Scrapping Posh sent you. Please comment, like, and subscribe, both my channel and Chantel's. And we hope to see you again next time. Thanks a lot, everybody, and have a wonderful, magical evening.